Hello, light beings. Denny Van here. Welcome to day 2 of our experiential journey to stepping out of the human and discovering the being. All right, so just to recap who I am, I'm Denny Van. I am your Sabam Guru, and Sabam Guru means your spirit, body, breath, mind coach, guiding you to reconnect, rediscover, realize the larger part of you. So I am your Sabam Guru, and this is day 2 of our experiential journey to stepping out of the human and discovering the being. And yesterday we talked about how nature and physics shows us that there are two parts which create a whole. There is a part in movement, constant movement. Hello, hello. There is a part of us in constant movement, and the larger part of us is the stillness that holds the space for that movement to occur. So today, day 2, we are going to expose the human part of us first, because with this we can, well, first of all, the human part of us, we all know this part so well. Actually, we all think this part of us is who we really are. So, with that said, we are going to get into so much detail about what the human part of you is, and then you'll be able to see it clearly, energetically. All right. So, hello, hello. Good morning, all. Hello, hello. Yesterday, we also talked about doing a little bit of homework. First of all, answering the question, who am I? And with that, we're going to answer that question today. So on day 2, in exposing the human and getting back to that framework that I showed you yesterday on day 1, this framework is so powerful. First of all, it goes through the mind, because a lot of traditions, religions, Eastern philosophies all will tell you, come into this space of beingness, that it's nothing, it's expansive, it's all of these wonderful, beautiful things that we're all so desperately seeking. But how the heck do we get there? So on day 2, we're going to discover what this movement is. And this movement is everything human about you. So let me take you to that visual of the framework of the human being the movement, and the being stillness, is the stillness. So taking a look at this framework, and this is really for your mind, because your being is already there. There's nothing you have to get, do, practice, buy, mantra, mudra, any of those things you have to do in order to be. So the human is the doer, right? It's the verb. The being is nothing. It just is. Just like the fulcrum. The fulcrum doesn't do anything. It holds the space for the movement to happen. Hello, hello, darlings. Very nice. So I'm going to show you something. Well, first of all, if anybody did any of that homework, feel free to go ahead and post anything here, because yesterday we talked about answering the question, who am I? I am, fill in the blank, right? I am many, many things. And feel free to share, if you came up with any of these things. And I'm going to share my list of answering the question, who am I? A very small part of it. When I first started doing this exercise, I had quite a long list of answering the question, who am I? So, nice, very nice. So coming back to this framework, the human and the being. The human being the movement, and the being, which is stillness. So let's break down what exactly is the human part of us. Anything that is in movement, and that could be our bodies. Our bodies are in constant movement. Actually, I should probably back up a little bit because one thing should be number one on this list of movement, and that is time. Everything in the realm of movement, time, and change. Time is really the king, is king of this realm. So time consumes all of it. Nothing is ours. Everything belongs to time. So with the human moving part of us, what do we put in this quadrant in our framework? We put the body. My body is in constant movement. It's never the same. It's constantly changing. So the being is actually the larger part of what we cannot see with the physical part of us. Our thoughts, our beliefs, our emotions, our dreams, our self-image, meaning who we think we are. And this is why we're asking the question, who am I? And answering it by saying, I am, and then fill in the blank. So that is part of who we think we are, our self-image. Very nice. And then our name. Our name is not who we are. Our names can change, right? How many of us know somebody that's had their name changed? My name has changed. I've gotten married and I have a different name. So names change. Your name is not who you are. These things, everything that is in constant movement, constant change, a slave to time, is not who you really are. So, when I asked you yesterday to answer the question, who am I am blank. All of those things that you listed that you are, if it is in movement, change, oscillation, constantly moving, it belongs under the human part of you. So I'm going to share mine with you, and so you can compare your notes. When I broke down and answered the question, who am I? This is pretty much a very short list. When I did it, my list was very, very long. Hi, darling. I'm a mother, a daughter, a gardener, a heel, a chef, a reflexologist, a nutritionist, a partner. Yes. And all of those things, are all of those things stable and never changing? Were you always a mother? Were you always a daughter? When you were born, you were a daughter, but is that who you are? A gardener, is that who you are? A healer, I love that one. I'm a healer too, but is that who I really am? Chef, my son's a chef. I told my son he's never allowed to move out of the house. Reflexologist, very good. Very good. So answering this question, let me show you mine. And this is just very, very partial. Partial list. So I'm Denny. My name is not who I am. I'm a woman, I'm a wife, I'm a mother, I'm a sister, I'm a therapist, I'm a Reiki master, I'm a yoga instructor. Oh my gosh, the list can go on and on and on, right? So answering the question, who am I, from the human moving, oscillating part of the human part of us. So if I answer the question, who am I? The answer is going to be moving and changing if I'm answering it from the human part of us, right? Exactly. So coming and recognizing when we're trying to awaken, spiritually awaken, and then we have a thought. Let's say a thought comes up, and then we turn our attention to the thought. We are now in the movement of the human because we're perceiving from this thing. And it's really not a thing, is it? It's nothing. It's just a thought. A thought comes, oh, I'm not good enough. Then I turn my attention to this thought, I'm not good enough. Now I have a choice in this moment. Most of us don't see this choice. I have a choice in this moment to say, oh, I believe this thought. I'm not good enough. Oh my gosh, maybe this thought is right. I'm totally not good enough. Or I look at this thought, I'm not good enough. Ooh, remove my attention from it, let it go, and come back into the space of being. That thought cannot enter the space of being because your attention goes to the movement. You are now off your center. You are no longer in your space of being. So we have a thought. We bring our attention to it. We are no longer in the space of beingness. We are now in the movement of the human. Does that make sense? Does this make sense? So this is kind of like, it's a practice right now, but it's not a practice once you understand. Come into the space of stillness and watch the movement. So I have a thought, here it comes in my reality. Now I have a choice to look at it or remove my attention to it, and there it goes. I'm no longer feeding it. You see, your attention is your most precious gift. What you put your attention on determines where you are perceiving from. I'm going to say that again. What you put your attention on determines where you are perceiving from. So when we're going through life and something comes up in our experience, most of the time the body has a knee-jerk reaction to react, respond. We tend to do this prematurely and we jump into it, right? So something comes into our experience. And if we are in our human and moving with it, we think we are it. This is who we are. But if we look at this, ooh, this is in my experience. Is this what I want for my being? Is this where I want to put my attention to? This is not me. Let it go. So when we're going through life and something catches our attention, we like shiny things. This is probably our most crucial, hidden, not seen attachment, because the Buddha talks about letting go of attachments, right? So here's me on my journey, letting go of physical attachments. You know, I'm not attached to my things. I'm not attached to anything. If you want it, here it is. One of the hardest attachments for me to become clear on were my thoughts, my beliefs, my ideas, my dreams, my experiences, and all of those things. When mindfulness, exactly, but how do you do mindfulness? But the mind is exactly mindfulness. I call it becoming aware of presence. And you cannot become aware of presence if there's movement. Right? So the mindfulness comes in recognizing when your attention is going to the movement and now you're in the humanness of you. You're perceiving from that movement, which is very limited. Let's say if you're doing archery, you know, and you're shooting from a moving target and you're constantly moving, do you think you're going to hit that target, right? So you're in the moving of it. We're not perceiving things clearly. We're not perceiving things as they truly are when we're in the movement of it. And I love that mindfulness because it takes awareness of the presence, looking and saying, oh wow, I'm really caught up in this movement. Let's take a step back, bring my attention here, let all of that go. And then time will tell you what's the next logical step. So being in the space of stillness, instead of letting all of those things get your attention, bring the attention back into the stillness. And then when we're ready to look at the movement of our humanness, we see it for what it really is. All of the things that I thought I was, I know that's not me. All of my ideas, all of my memories, all of my experiences have brought me to this place where I am right now. But those experiences, thoughts, and ideas do not define who I am. When I'm in my humanness and in the movement of it, it defines who I am. When I'm watching it with space between my beingness and my humanness, what ends up happening is all of the things you think you are, all of your experiences really begin to become refined. because then you become aware of the choice you make of putting the attention on things that you want. What happens in our society, especially on social media, our attention is gone to all of the things we don't want. We don't want, animals treated this way, but we're showing pictures of animals being treated this way. We don't want children being treated this way, but we're showing pictures of children being treated this way. We don't want women being treated this way, yet we're showing pictures of women being treated this way. So our attention is actually feeding what we don't want. It's feeding the movement of it, whether we want it or not. Does that make sense? So when we withdraw our attention from the moving humanness and create this space, then when we look at something, we see, oh my gosh, I really don't want this. You stop. Don't feed your attention to it. However, you want more of what you want. So instead, you see children being treated and all of their basic needs met, and they're smiling and happy, right? Spread more pictures of that. Allow your beingness to see more pictures of that. Guess what? That's what you're going to get more of. We want to see pictures of women standing in their beauty as they are, as opposed to compared to others who deem those as being beautiful, or seeing women treated the way they want to be treated, starting with self. When women start treating themselves as they want to be treated, then we start to see more of that. It's the difference between being stuck in the victim. This happened to me, all of these things happened to me, this is what I am, I've experienced this, and this is my experience, and this is my story, and my story is who I am. How many of us are caught in that trap? I know I was for many years. I'm a cancer survivor. I'm a traumatic, I experienced trauma, post-traumatic stress disorder survivor. I grew up in not the best conditions. However, looking back, all of these things gave me experiences that when I was experiencing them, I may have labeled them as bad. And yes, no child should ever have to experience those things. But being in the presence of now, and when that memory comes up, and I can look at it, and I have a couple of choices. I can allow that memory to trigger emotional responses in my body, or I can thank it and let it go. Because it is no longer now, right? It's a memory. It's not real. Obviously, being in the experience at the time was very real. However, 30 years later, yes, the body may be experiencing it again, but come back and watch it from the space of your beingness and just allow it. Sometimes memories have to go through the body in order to be released. I work with clients who especially women who have experienced traumatic, maybe domestic violence or sexual assault. And so what I do is when they're in the memory and they're in the movement of their humanness, I will bring them back by tapping. They can have them tap. And it brings you back into the now, because emotions are energy in motion. They don't know time. The emotions don't know that this experience happened 30 years ago or 7 days ago. When it's experiencing it again, it's experiencing it as if it's happening all over again. When you're in the movement of it. When you're able to step back and say, oh wow, a memory just came and there it goes. I feel it in my gut. It's spreading out through my body. My body wants to do something. It might be shaking. It might be going through its movement. And staying in the being and just watching it, and then all of a sudden it's gone. Now I've had people go through body movements, like with craniosacral therapy, where you have the body movements and then all of a sudden it's energetically gone, because our connective tissue within our body, the fascia, the connective tissue, holds a lot of our memories within the physical body. Our memories are not in our mind. Our memories are in our body. So I might be working on someone on the body. Let's say, just recently what happened, I was doing some connective tissue work with somebody on their arm. And all of a sudden, they said, oh my gosh, when I was 8 years old, I have this uncle who's 5 years older than me. I hadn't seen him in a while. But he came and ran up to me, was so excited to see me, and punched me in the arm. And that memory just came back because he bruised. He had this big bruise here for like 5 days. And he remembered it. But obviously the memory was gone. But when I was working on this area, on the connective tissue and reorganizing and realigning that, the memory came to the surface and he was able to let that go. So our memories are sometimes within the body. So the body is part of the human part of us, and it's a slave to time. It belongs to time. Okay? Ready? With this framework, we can kind of fill in what is human now, right? We can recognize and become more mindful of the moving aspect of self. So the body, the thoughts, beliefs, emotions, all of that is within the movement. Now I'm going to tell you the mind, because, being the Satbam guru, I wanted to put mind first when I was kind of going through this and figuring out, what it is I do. And because the mind is such a big barrier to waking up. I shouldn't say barrier. It's more like mud on a window or mud on a lens. This is the mind. This is the biggest pain in the ass, if you will, part of us. And I put it last. But the mind is a constructed entity that we as a society created. So here's me answering the question, who am I? From the space of my human. I'm Denny, I'm a woman, all of these things. And when I discovered the space of my beingness, this exercise was so powerful for me because a lot of times the mind is going to play tricks on you, right? The mind is going to say, oh, that's nothing. Come and look over here. Bring your thoughts over here. A human does, spirit is. Yeah, this information is out there. Actually, this information is out there. It's been out there. It's in every single sacred text. What really, really helped me was understanding the two parts that create a whole. And it's physics. A lot of what's spoken about is in sacred religious texts. And it was physics who brought me to this space. Exactly. And mindfulness is very key. However, one thing that you can do, and it's just one question, you ask yourself, when you are caught off guard, caught in the movement of your human, ask yourself this very, very simple question. Where am I perceiving from? And it will tell you right away. You will feel it viscerally. This is nothing we can put words to. I'm using very limited words to describe the describeless, the wordless. There's no words that actually describe this space. Words that have been already used are stillness, the kingdom of the heavens, and you can probably add many awakenings, enlightenment, all that is, being in source. I mean, all of those words describe this. You're going to have your own word as well. I love the being because the being is the larger part of us. And I'm going to just kind of throw this out for those who may be interested. There is a TED Talk by a neurologist, and her name is Jill Bolte Taylor, and she experienced a stroke. The TED Talk, I believe, is called A Stroke of Genius. It's about 20 minutes long. But in there, she explains her experience of having a stroke. Being a neurologist, having a stroke. What a gift. What a terror at the same time, right? So while she was in this experience, of course, she had to do certain things in recognizing she was having a stroke. But then she realized that she was disconnected from her physical brain. Yes, I love Jill's story. And it's been a few years now, but it's so relevant because she talks in there about when she was disconnected from the physical brain, from the stroke. There was no longer blood flow or connection to the part of her brain. And she felt her beingness. She was in her beingness, and she talks about it being so large. And she couldn't understand how something so large can be put in this tiny little body. So she was perceiving from her beingness, looking at her body going, that's the smallest thing. How can I fit in that tiny little thing? So I highly recommend you watch that TED Talk, especially as you're going through this journey of identifying the human and stepping into and perceiving from this expansive, unending beingness that is you. And this is why I tell other human beings that there is nothing you have to be, do, get, practice, buy, mantra, mudra, yoga, savasana. There's nothing you have to do other than recognize what you already are. And the only way to recognize what you already are is to not give any attention to the movement of your human. And this is why Jesus said no flesh can enter the kingdom of the heavens. And I talked about this before. I come from a Christian background, and when I read this scripture and was taught this scripture, we were taught that, our bodies cannot enter the kingdom of the heavens. Well, of course, that made sense to me. My body goes back to the earth and my spirit goes up to heaven as if it's another place, right? But what Jesus mentioned, that no flesh, that means nothing that has anything to do with the flesh. That means our thoughts, our ideas, our beliefs, our dreams, anything, our bodies, anything cannot enter this space. And this is why we can't enter the space. We want to bring our human with us. We can't. The hurricane, the example of the hurricane, can the bands of the outside part of the hurricane go inside the eye? No. Can the fulcrum of the scales go inside the scales? No. It holds the space. It is the space. All right, light beings, we've been going for about a half an hour, and this has been such a wonderful joy. Please do check out Jill's story, and I look forward to day 3. Now, day 3, we are going to discover the being. And if you haven't already discovered it, you definitely will tomorrow. And tomorrow we're going to become very clear, and then we're going to go into, tomorrow's probably going to be a shorter lecture, and we're going to go into a stillness meditation so that you can feel and maybe start to create just a little bit of space. You only need a little bit of space. Right now, so many of us are so stuck in our human. We have all this movement and congestion and just busyness that we don't have the space within to experience it. So put that outside. Put it outside in the bands of your hurricane and allow that eye, which is probably tiny, tiny, tiny right now, to suddenly open up. And then you have this space to know what you are and what you are not. That's key. All right, light beings, please, if you have been enjoying this, please share. Please share our group with other light beings who are desperately seeking this stillness, who might think that they are their humanness, and showing them a space of liberation, freedom, peace, compassion. This space is our natural state. This space holds all of the states. And states are sojourns. States are emotions, thoughts. When we're in these states, when we're in the movement, practice creating space to put those movements out and create that space. And some people, some of my clients feel this space in different areas in the body. And it's not so much a feeling, it is viscerally felt. It is a space. And as you start to get into this space, it is so light, so freeing. And when we move in life, as life, from this space, this is where I am so excited to see the manifestations of more and more light beings discovering this space, because the possibilities are, my heart just swells. But if you feel that space in your heart, you may feel it there. Some people feel it in their third eye. Some people actually feel the space off of their human. So it doesn't matter where you feel that. Sit in it. Sit in it every day. Start your day off by sitting in the being and letting go of anything human about you. All right, so we have had such a wonderful time getting ready for day 3 as discovering this wonderful being part of us. That will be tomorrow. And then Friday, we're going to go over what I call the oscillation period. This is a period of time when you're learning and asking the question, where am I perceiving from? So during this period of time, we may be in the movement, in the stillness, in the movement, in the stillness, in the movement, in the stillness. Okay, this is when you're going to start thinking, am I losing my mind? Yes, you are. You are losing your mind. Come back to the stillness. Really, the mind is not all that important. I thought it was, and I was so terrified to lose my mind. Really, for a while there, it's almost this terrifying experience, but it's nothing. It really is nothing. Okay? Thank you for being you and sharing. Oh, thank you, darling. It has been such a wonderful pleasure, and I am looking forward to tomorrow. Tomorrow at 11 a.m. is day 3 of our journey to discovering the being. And again, please share, please like my page and join our group, because if you're in both, if you have both, you will be notified when we go live, okay? So it'll come up right on your screen that we're going live, so you don't have to miss it, and you can participate. Very, very nice. How are we doing, light beings? Send me some love, send me some hearts. Very cool. Oh, I love the hearts. Thank you so much. And sad face. All right, very nice. And I'm here for you. And I love you. I love you. Blessings.